You don't need to be anything to be truly amazing. So I had, the abusive father, I had a learning disability, had a severe stutter. I suffered from toxic stress. I had a whole bunch of white blotches all over my skin as a young kid. On top of the stuttering, on top of the, hair falling out of my head as a young kid. So I tried to hide in class, being, not only the only black kid in my class, but being, to me, I wasn't the smartest kid in class. I was the dumbest kid in my mind. So I was already insecure from my dad beating me in Buffalo. We moved to the small town of Brazil, Indiana. And my mom was working 3 jobs at the time. We lived in a government subsidized apartment that cost her $7 a month. So she was grinding, trying to make ends meet, right? Single mother. I copied all the way to my junior year in high school, just cheated on all these tests, and then I wanted to join the military. So I'm like, I want to join the military. I need to get out of this small town, tired of being called the N-word, tired of being the only, just tired of not fitting in. So one incident that happened to me is I came out of school and I had my brand new 1982 citation. And I came out and they said, N-word, we're going to kill you. Spray paint all over it. My out was going to the military. So when I said, I'm going to join the military, I went to the recruiter and he said, hey, you can take an ASVAB test. And I heard test, I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? So a letter came in the mail a week after I failed my second ASVAB test. And it said pretty much, your son's going to flunk out of school. My mom was like, hey, you know what, you're going to flunk out. That was her only advice to me because she was so stressed out from her personal life. And that's when I invented the accountability mirror. The accountability mirror was, my life, I blamed everybody. And a lot of people had a lot to do with my failures, but it's now mine to own. I had to start owning this myself because, my father wasn't coming back. The people that called me names weren't coming back. Nothing was coming back to save me. So I realized I had to save myself. And that's when I invented the accountability mirror where I started putting down, I'm not smart. And I put a sticky note on the accountability mirror. I'm this, I'm that. And my mirror was full of sticky notes. And every day I went through and I tried to solve these problems. And the biggest problem it was trying to fit in. I was trying to fit in. I was blaming other people. I wasn't taking accountability for my own actions. I was doing all these things wrong. And as a 17-year-old trying to teach yourself this, it was difficult. And it snowballed from there, but I ended up passing that test, passed the ASVAB test. I was in the Air Force for about 4 years. And my big thing was I wanted to be Air Force pararescueman, some of the best medics on the planet Earth. As I got in the program, I started realizing that they had this thing called water confidence. Basically, they make you very uncomfortable underwater. So I realized at that point in time that I hated being underwater. I hated holding my breath. For 6 weeks, I hung in the program. I didn't sleep at all for fear of going back to the pool, for fear of drowning in my head. About 6 weeks in, we had this physical, and they realized I have sickle cell trait. Back in the day, I used to lie about whatever made me feel insecure. On my official paperwork out of pararescue training, it has David Goggins left on a medical. But the truth of the matter is, I left because I quit. I had to find a different job in the Air Force. In 4 years being in the Air Force, I gained 125 pounds. I get out of the Air Force and I'm working for a job spraying for cockroaches. 40 restaurants I was in charge of. I'd go in there at nighttime and I'd spray. I would stop at Steak and Shake, get a large chocolate milkshake. I would go across the street to 7-Eleven, get a box of mini donuts. On the way home, I'd be popping donuts like Tic Tacs. I would get home, turn the TV on. This is my routine. Start taking a shower and listen to the TV as I'm showering. This particular day, I started hearing Navy SEALs, toughest training. And I was hearing it cut out between the water hitting my ears. So I came out of the shower, but it was Navy SEAL class, Budge class, going through training. And it was nothing but water, and they're going through Hell Week, and they're freezing, and people are quitting left and right. And I sat down at 297 pounds, and I'm watching these amazing men going through training. At the end of the show, this commanding officer gives a speech. He says, we live in a society where mediocrity is often rewarded. These 22 men detest mediocrity. And I felt like, man, I have to now really start to overcome my fears because I felt so small. Every day I had this haunting voice in my head saying, you're nothing, you're nothing. And I had to start conquering myself. And so to overcome all this, my bright idea was to try to become the one thing I was afraid of, a Navy SEAL. That day, I started calling recruiters up. And for 2 weeks, this happened. This recruiter laughed at me, that recruiter laughed at me, this recruiter said, there's no way. And every time I heard a no, I said, no, it's not meant to be. So I get back in my car and start driving back to work. And after I'd be at work for a few hours, man, I said, man, you can't give up that easy. So finally I said, this is my last call I'm gonna make. He was real busy. He said, just come on in. People don't walk in the office trying to be a Navy